It's turnover.
Welcome to Sikkim 365 Radio.
On second down, Brewer throwing for the corner of the end zone. It's caught, touchdown. Had to wait for the hands to go up. Dalton Kincaid, the transfer from the University of San Diego.
Sikkim 365 Radio is presented by IdealMRI.com. High-quality MRIs for $497 or less. IdealMRI.com. Your health is important, so is your budget.
2nd and 11 from the 13 of Round Rock, and Tedford wants to throw a deep fade in the end zone. Got a man-open touchdown. What a throw. What a route. Junior Thornton Craig came uncovered in a beautiful throw by Tedford, and Midway's on the board.
The Sikkim 365 Radio Friday show is brought to you by Bird Culchin Ford.
Bowser up the middle. Bowser over the goal line. Touchdown, UCF. What an opening night for Isaiah Bowser.
The 3 o'clock hour is sponsored by Waco Custom Marketplace. Meats, sweets, Texas treats, and a cut above the rest. 425 Lake Air Drive, Waco.
Over the middle, he's got a man in stride, and walking into the end zone is Josh Fleeks with the touchdown.
Now here's David Smoak, Paul Catalina, and Craig Smoak.
All right, here we go on Sikkim 365 Radio, and we will be looking at you here in a minute live, we hope, from Panther Stadium on our YouTube channel, Channel 365 Sports. We are on live across all of those particular platforms on what is, and if you look, I wish you could see it, because there's a brand new turf at what is already one of the nicest stadiums, and it seems like there's hundreds of these type of stadiums around the state of Texas. Midway, remember, Panther Stadium was renovated back in 2010. They put in a brand new turf, including the under part of it. We just saw Shane Anderson, the head coach at Midway, and we're talking $800,000 is what the cost is. And Paul Catalina will join us in a moment. I've got news on the Big 12, and this is maybe more than what you've seen elsewhere. From who has received preliminary visits, who has received visits this week. And this thing is not just a pulse, as I was told today by somebody deep into it. This is more than a pulse. It's like the train is on the track. Craig Smoak joins me. Craig, first of all, I know we can't show it. We will. The brand new turf here at Panther Stadium, how gorgeous it looks.
Yeah, we had the road trip to start off the season last week. That was fine and dandy, but we've certainly upgraded this week. It's a beautiful view. Hopefully everybody will be able to see it soon enough. But, yeah, you can just look for miles and miles in the distance and all the, activity. And, I mean, even since we were here a couple years ago, there's a bunch of new buildings looking out on the horizon that I don't remember being here the last time. So, yeah, it's good to be here. Great facilities, great stadium. We have air conditioning this week, which is nice, so we're not sweating throughout the show. And, yeah, happy to be here, and certainly a lot going on with the Big 12 right now. Last night, college football launched. I know it was last weekend, but really these games last night, they gave us a few things. They gave us a little bit of something, so to speak. How about Ohio State? They had to kind of scratch and claw and eventually separated from Minnesota to win, and E.J. Stroud finally got comfortable. We'll look at all of the names of his receivers that are just nothing but dynamite. C.J. Stroud, I'm sorry. Yeah, no, he's got ridiculous weapons. I mean, that wide receiver core is absolutely filthy, and, when Garrett Wilson's not necessarily your number one receiver, that is just absurd. But no, Ohio State, I was kind of expecting what did eventually happen last night. It was a good little run there at the beginning. But Ohio State, there's just too much talent. They're just one of those teams that They just are so much better than most everybody else, and even when they were down, you were just kind of waiting for them to flip that switch. I know I was, and they certainly did flip that switch. And despite the slow start, tough loss for P.J. Fleck, but a great win for Ohio State.
All right, again last night, UCF came back from 21 down to beat Boise State, and I saw a couple of people. Great win for the Big 12.
Yeah, there was a lot of
in the win, and Dylan Gabriel, is that the younger brother?
Of who?
Oh, God, I just went blank. 25 of 37, 4 touchdowns, 300 yards passing.
There was a wide receiver that played named Doug Gabriel.
Yeah, I don't know if that is.
But
Utah, Charlie Brewer was 19 of 27, threw an interception at the end of the half as he was trying to throw it down to the goal line. 2 touchdowns, 233 as they beat who they should, Weber State, 40-17.
He's not fantastic, but he's pretty darn serviceable and good when he doesn't get hit in the face in 2 seconds.
Well, I mean, he still got hit a few times, but he showed his accuracy. He had a couple throws that missed, but for the most part, he was incredibly accurate. He had some drops that cost him another couple of touchdowns, so that stat line's a little bit misleading as far as how he actually performed. Ran a little bit, but not much, which is good. I wouldn't want him running a ton. I would like to be able to use his legs when needed, and sometimes that will be a called play, but he doesn't need to be, running around like he's Michael Vick or anything like that. He can get you some yards when he needs to, so he didn't have to do a lot of that last night. It was nice to see him just have a clean pocket on more than a couple of plays a game, He actually could sit there and scan the field and make a throw, so I thought he performed well. I didn't realize how dire the quarterback situation has been at Utah the last few years, I guess, because I saw a lot of fans were just raving about how much of an upgrade he was at quarterback. Cam Rising got a little play, had a quick touchdown once he got in the game as well. So I think Utah is going to be a pretty solid team. We'll see with Charlie over the course of the year. Like you said, it's Weber State, so it's not as though, they took on, Oregon to start the year. But I thought for an opening game against an opponent that you should beat up on, he did a great job, and he was one of the highlights last night for them, no doubt.
All right, Paul, you going to join us? Or are you going to be a part of the show? Or are you doing all the technical stuff right? Okay, that's fine. We are live from Panther Stadium. A couple of other games. NC State smoked USF 45-0. Let's see. Tonight, North Carolina. They're getting a lot of pub, of course. Mac Brown and company at Virginia Tech. South Dakota at KU. And Michigan State plays at Northwestern in the Big Ten. Ohio State, we mentioned that, so many weapons. And I thought, that's one of those games because it's raining, you're at Minnesota, there's a lot going on, you're down. They just kept doing what they do. They got the ball eventually in their big play receivers' hands, and, of course, a lot of times they were running free, and they do have weapons, no question about it. That's it. P.J. Fleck's team played well. They played about as well as they possibly could. He'll probably disagree with that because they lost the game, as we mentioned, 45-31. Let me get to a couple of things with the Big 12. Now, there's been reports, and of course, Max Olson, Sam Kahn, Andy Staples, and others, about many things Big 12. I'm being told that, and you've seen this number before, 15 teams contacted the Big 12 when all of a sudden it was obvious that they needed to expand. The 15 teams, all of them have had some sort of preliminary discussions and in some cases visits with members or those as a part of the Big 12. Now, there was a report today that Commissioner Bob Bowlesby had visited, in fact, as well, the University of Houston campus. I also have, from my sources, that these other schools have had some sort of visits. Now, not all of them with the commissioner. And what Bob Bowlesby is doing when he visits campuses is meeting with the regents, the board of regents of the campus, and whoever maybe the rep is going to be, and also with donors and saying, here, we could sit there and say that the Big 12 needs help. They do. But here's what we are going to do. Because they have 15 teams and probably 6 or 8 that might interest you, and maybe all 15, to fill what right now will be 4 spots. We know Brigham Young's in the mix. We know UCF is in the mix. We know that Cincinnati and Brigham Young and even Colorado State, Boise State, among others, Memphis, these teams, no question, are a part of the mix. So Colorado State, Boise State, Houston, UCF, Cincinnati, and Brigham Young have had some sort of visits, and there may be more, but those, Bowlesby's been to some. And he's meeting those a part of the Board of Regents. He's also meeting with donors saying, okay, this is what we need. This is what we need from you. And So they're going through that process. Others have met with some other schools, some others that are at least having some sort of contact, include SMU, South Florida, Tulane, and Tulsa. Don't panic. That doesn't mean any of the ones I mentioned will be the ones that join, but there'll be some of these teams. But that's part of doing your due diligence. And this time, unlike in 16, obviously the Big 12 is not just a game of dog and pony show, Craig. This is something where they truly know that they have to react quicker, sooner rather than later.
Yeah, I mean, I like that they're not wasting any time. I didn't expect them to be this quick with making their decisions. I mean, I thought it was going to be a process that certainly needed to be a expedient one and not something that dragged out for, a couple of years, although I'm sure like all the, loose ends and everything will take quite a while to finalize. But in terms of just the moves themselves, I mean, I think we know that the Big 12 has to be on the attack, and that's something they've been absolutely putrid at throughout the course of their history. And so, as I've been saying for the last week or so, use this as an opportunity to rebrand yourself, to rebrand the conference on the way that you've been viewed nationally for the last few years. And I think by being proactive and going out and being on the offensive, that is a little bit of a change for the Big 12 and one that I do like. And I'd actually ask you to one by one go over these teams and just a quick comment so that people can hear them all once again and then clarify these are who the Big 12 has at least talked to and looked at and maybe visited the campus, right?
From what I'm being told, and I do trust who's telling me this, those who have had some sort of like campus visits, Colorado State,
okay,
Boise State,
okay,
Houston,
obviously, yeah,
UCF,
obviously,
Cincinnati,
obviously,
Brigham Young, and I cannot get confirmation on if Memphis has had that as well. Now, those who have had preliminary visits, and I don't know if that means on campus or at least discussions, Zoom or otherwise, or phone conferences or whatever, is Tulane, Tulsa, South Florida, SMU, and I'm missing a couple of other names because I couldn't quite we had to get on the air. But this is, the Colorado State is interesting.
Yeah.
We've heard them a little bit. I don't know, again, how many of these visits are legitimate, how many are focused in on, okay, these are the teams and this is what we need from you. But they have the ones I mentioned, Colorado State, Boise State, Houston, UCF, Cincinnati, Brigham Young, have been visited. That doesn't mean if you haven't been that you're out of it. It's time. But we've seen that Bowlesby's been making some visits around the country. In fact, Houston, I think, most recently, and could have had a visit or two even today as well.
Yeah, well, four of those teams obviously are the ones that are being most rumored about. And I don't know if you saw Joseph Duarte's tweet last night. Did you see that Pope tweet he sent out?
Mm-mm.
Joseph Duarte, like a couple hours after he joined us on the show, Houston beat writer, he sent out a little picture of the smoke, the white smoke, whenever a new pope is certified or whatever. And so I don't know if he elaborated on that. I didn't go back around and check, but he was having fun with it, and it led me to believe that, yeah, the wheels were in motion, and then all the other stuff, like especially from guys like Max Olson that's been coming out. I mean, Houston seems well on their way to the Big 12. BYU, I think, is a little bit more in that direction, although there's that question of, okay, are they football only, or, what happens there? But they seem well on their way to the Big 12. Cincinnati seems to be right there in that lead group as well, and as well as Cincinnati. Who am I missing? Cincinnati, Houston, BYU, and who's the fourth?
Colorado State, Boise State, Houston, UCF.
UCF, that's who I'm thinking of.
Cincinnati and Brigham Young.
UCF's in that top four. So, yeah, I mean, they seem to be on some solid ground with, hopefully getting Big 12 membership here pretty soon. Seems obviously sooner rather than later, the way that the thing's going right now. Those other schools, I mean, I think to look at a Colorado State makes a lot of sense. I mean, cross your T's, dot your I's, and there might be something there. So you'd rather, spend the time, what little time you may spend there, rather than not spending any time. And then in a few years, you regret that you didn't spend that time. So I like that they're being diligent. That is a team that I think is one you kind of put an asterisk by. There's a couple of others that you mentioned there that if it was me, I wouldn't have much interest in. But I like that they're looking at all their options. That's what they should be doing.
Well, and they are. And it obviously shows that even though there have been certain reports, and some that are just validating reports from Max Olson and Andy Staples, the others at The Athletic. Sam Kahn from theathletic.com is going to join us here momentarily. But these are meetings with, again, regents, donors, and others to try to kind of, and think about how ironic is it this year that Baylor and Brigham Young are playing in Waco. That this is like out of nowhere in Waco. So there's any more than just polls. And I was told today, I said, well, that's good there's a polls. And I was told, no, that's almost like degrading where they are. And I didn't mean it that way. But a pulse would be good because at times we won.
Welcome to Sikkim 365 Radio.
Purdy over the middle and intercepted. Tejada down the sideline and pushed out of bounds.
Sikkim 365 Radio is presented by Ideal
is
MRI.
telling these schools, if you have exit fees, we expect you to pay 25 to 50% of.
.com. High quality MRIs for $497 or less. IdealMRI.com. Your health is important, so is
Remaining
your
teams
budget.
want to make sure that they get as much of whatever, if in fact there are exit fees.
Daniels over the middle.
And want to try to get as much of that as they can. However, part of that could be siphoned off.
Touchdown Bulldogs.
Over the next year, 2, 3, whatever, with those who might be the ones who join the conference.
Yeah, you would think there'd have to be some financial tilt-a-whirl going on there with, but look, it's good that they're moving fast and that it's good that they're trying to think of a plan. And, McMurphy, stating that, look, the other, some of the other teams could come before even Oklahoma and Texas leave. That's hard for me to believe, but even still, like it would be cool to see maybe.
Yeah, I'll wait for the Athletic to report that
Paul,
and then have him double confirm it or whatever.
You have Joseph Duarte's number from yesterday?
Yeah.
Can we get him on? Are we able to do that right now? Can we jump on with him for 5 minutes?
Do you need me to call him and tell him this?
Yeah, if you don't mind. Yeah, he's ready. No, he's ready is what I'm saying. He's ready to come on because, like Craig said last night, he had the puff of smoke. Hey, we have a new pope. And he is also, the Houston Chronicle has got a story up about that they will be a part of it. And so the Power 5, the Big 12, and much more. So let's get the latest from Joseph Duarte.
Going back to what we were talking about here, the exit fees. I mean, I was wondering how that was going to get sorted out. And so it makes sense that the Big 12 would help in that regard. There's going to have to be some ponying up from these schools towards the AAC and some ponying up at some point for Oklahoma and Texas as well. I mean, I think that's one of the real wild card and interesting storylines is, OU and UT's exit and what they're planning there. And, as I've said, if you're Bob Bowlesby, you're not trusting a single thing they're saying. So right now they're saying, no, we're going to live out this contract till 2024 or whatever. They very well may. They might. That might be exactly what happens, but I wouldn't be believing anything they had to say right now. So I would have every plan in place, absolutely possible. And, yeah, I would be figuring out those buyouts right now and how all that would work. And, you better do what you can to get as much money as you can from Oklahoma and Texas. I mean, that's why it's in the contract to begin with. That's big time money. You may not get all of it, but you can get a good chunk of it.
Get as much as you possibly can. And now we're joined by Joseph Duarte, Houston Chronicle, covers the University of Houston. He was on with us yesterday. And Joseph, a lot of it, of course, was about the possibility of Houston, the Big 12. And this looks like, and I talked to somebody today who I said, well, it's good that they have a pulse. I'm talking about the conference first.